Well, well, well. Look who it is. Hold on a minute. Alright, I am 101% sure this thing is on. How are we all? How are we? How are we doing? I apologize in advance, we've had to start a stream an hour earlier than usual for you guys up in the northern hemisphere. Because down in the southern hemisphere, we do things a little different. We do this thing called daylight savings, where we, when the sun hits just right, we roll our clocks forward an hour. We time travel, as you do. So, what is this? Hold on. YouTube live stream it keeps updating stuff every time I use this darn thing, and there's a new button they've added to the interface called Engage with Your Audience. But that's what I'm doing right now. Why do I need a button for that? Hold on, what does this do? Oh, okay, it lets me start a Q&A and a poll. What the hell is a Q&A? I thought that's what this already was. Okay, I'm just gonna ignore those new features like always. I'm okay with the earlier starts, says Dat Sammy. Well, that's good to know. I was thinking to kind of move the schedule around a bit, but the unfortunate thing is, because most of you guys, I think, I don't know, maybe not, but most of the people that watch my channel overall, all in the northern hemisphere, and you guys are all awake when I'm asleep. So the ideal stream time for me would be 2 a.m. for you guys, but I don't want to be up at 2 a.m. because it's not healthy, okay? So I have to do it. This is sort of the best compromise there is. But yeah, it makes it hard to compete, because I know that the viewership would probably be like 3 times more if I was streaming at 2 a.m. But what kind of person wants live streams at 2 a.m. in the morning, right? Not me. I gotta sleep's important. Alright, hold on, let me get the desktop up. Whoa, we are back, gentlemen. We are so back. I thought we'd stop the badly drawn avatar gag. It was getting, it was funny for the first 2 times, but I was getting kind of boring. So it is the real me, real John Feline is back. 3 a.m. gang. Yeah, well, you guys can go be 3 a.m. gang somewhere else. I'm bedtime gang. That's where I am. Oh, hey, Sakurumi. At what point will you create your own streaming interface that doesn't have all the bells and whistles? I don't know, someday. I don't know. When it gets to a point, when it becomes that unbearable, I mean, it's already pretty bad, but when it becomes if it gets to the point where I don't want to stream ever again, then I might consider doing that. If it's so bad that it's I just want to stop, then maybe that's time to make my own stream window. I don't know. But that's a lot of work. There was this video that one of you sent me in the Discord about Audacity's interface that I thought was so fascinating. I think it was called How We're Redesigning Audacity or something like that. This really good. It kind of goes into you guys can go watch this on your own time, but I thought this was quite a good video in that it describes okay, YouTube's not going to load anymore. But it describes the user interface and UX challenges that the Audacity team has, and it's super interesting. But as he describes, he kind of takes you on the journey of what it's like as they redesign Audacity, and man, it is so much work that I have to remember that people who haven't programmed anything would have no idea that it takes, to do something as simple as we want to reskin the UI. Well, that's 8 months of work. Or, we want to have it so that when you have an audio clip, there's handles on the sides and you can drag them. Well, that's 4 months of work. And it's just I mean, I know that things that usually take that long, right? But I know that a lot of people that aren't, just on their computer all day, they don't really think about it too much. And it was really liberating to see that guy kind of go through all the challenges and actually realistically give you an idea of the commitment and time needed to make a good program. a good interface that doesn't suck. So I know that if I was wanting to do my own like live stream interface, I know that would probably be like 6 months or something to make it good and not just some like rushed garbage thing like this YouTube one is, where they're adding all these buttons for no reason. So yeah, it seems like that's the common rule. All good things of quality just take lots of time. Well, the animated avatar is super realistic. Thanks, Sublime. Been missing out on a lot of dev streams. I wonder what's been done. Well, this I have on my desktop at the moment. We've been kind of like going deep dive into graphic design. And this is, I think, an area that a lot of games don't get right. Unless there's some AAA well-funded. Even then, actually, a lot of, like, I don't know if you guys have seen Marathon, but that to me looks garbage. And that has like multi-million-dollar budget. And I think the art style is mostly ripped off as well. I mean, not to say that like imitating or getting inspired is bad, but I think there was like evidence somewhere that the artist that worked on Marathon was like, I don't remember if this is exactly right, but allegedly they were like copying, like just straight ripping off some other artist's work. And this is multi-million-dollar project, by the way. So this, I think it's safe to say that the graphic design in games has gone downhill a bit in the last 20 years. And we're here at Project Feline Studios. That's not the name. I don't have a studio. Here in Ray's room, we're working to fix that. So I think last week, I don't know what I showed you guys, but the stream shut off because my power suddenly went out. It turns out it wasn't a power outage, thank goodness. But I had my foot too close to the plug where everything in my UPS was plugged in, and I accidentally hit it when I was trying to get out a book, and everything just went down. So I've moved everything around a bit, so that shouldn't happen this time. But since last time, I think this was a sort of the design we had going. I was walking you through. We're going to make improvements to this design based on old 90s graphic design ethos, and I kind of went and developed this a bit more. This by the way, this is the cool stuff. I've also been doing lots of like rewriting and editing on this big devlog on her character model here, but there's nothing really that cool to show at the moment. A lot of it's boring, but you know, it's getting there. But the cool stuff. So I kept like developing and pushing this more to try and like see where you could go. So this was sort of the progression where I had the first variant, I had like a second variant that's a bit simpler, and this I thought would make for a cool wallpaper of some kind. Now this particular image, it doesn't really serve a purpose. It's just I wanted to practice styling and layout, and like, can I compose an image that doesn't look crap? That was my goal. So I made like what could be like a vertical wallpaper or a phone wallpaper or something. And then I kind of took it in this other direction of like something that might look like a magazine ad or the back of the box cover or something like that. And I just literally, this is all improvisational. I was literally jazzing out, kind of like how, you know how like jazz musicians, they just have a jam? That's what I was doing. I was just playing around because I've been reading so many books on design, and it's like I got to put some of this into practice and just see for myself what is going to work, what I like doing, and what fits the game. And well, yeah, these were the results of my experimentation. Now on the stream today, I want to push things a little further and try to implement the scaffolding of some of this into the website. Because that's something I've been working on in the background for a while. You guys have seen little bits of the progress, but one of the things that's been holding it back is naming the thing and getting a domain, because I just still don't know what to call it, and the theming and visual graphic design of the thing. Because that's, when you make a website, is like that's the main thing, right? You don't do it and do some Linktree or Squarespace boring template. That kind of defeats the point. You want something that is welcoming, that leaves an emotional impression on people when they visit it. And you can achieve that if your design is good. But, you know, as I'm learning, there's a lot to design. There's a lot to it. There's the foundations, and then there's the styling, there's the emotion, the color. Like, there's so much to it. And it's been quite a journey learning this invisible art that I think people are forgetting about, because I don't see good design in general anymore. when I go out anywhere. When you look at ads, when you look at, even on YouTube, you look at ads on YouTube, you look at YouTube thumbnails, you look at buildings, cars, you just look at the world today. Something's gone wrong, okay? Something's going backwards. And it seems like it's not important, but it is important, you know? Because if it like, everyone is so miserable today, and I think that maybe wouldn't be the case if the designs we were looking at on the way to work or out in public or online, if they were a bit better, you know? So what I've done at the moment with this current composition, I did this up for the thumbnail for the stream, and I just have this open to show you like some little changes I've been doing as well. Because the one thing I wanted to experiment with on this was material, and some of you might know this as like skeuomorphism, which was like a really heavy thing, especially in the late 2000s, where everything looked like it was made out of real material. So I tried like an aluminum trim on the the tops and bottoms of this image with like transparent inner panels on the inside with like text laid out and everything. But the thing is, it kind of does change the vibe. It makes, because that ultimately now in the territory that we're in with this, we've got foundations, we've got good color, we've got, you know, readable text, but it's like the vibe. That's now, you gotta like, how do you quantify and control the vibe and make it deliberate? And that's where it gets more tricky, because there's not a clear, objective way to go about that. There's just a goal, and there's no correct goal. It's just an artistic goal, which is you want people to feel a certain way. So now it becomes, knowing what I know, how do you make this give the right feeling subjectively? And at the moment, there are bits that I guess were worth trying, but there are bits I kind of don't like as well about the use of materials and metal, is that it does make everything feel a bit chunkier and heavier, less athletic, which is one of the key words I have, is that it has to feel athletic, summery, and like Gatorade or something like that. And I don't know, this to me, I think it is very kind of 2005-ish looking, which is also part of the goal. But to me, it looks a little too, it's a bit too heavy and a bit too masculine with the sort of rounded bevels and everything, like just the volume. So with this picture, I did a lot of the same, like I copied the composition and some of the accents and colors, but I just turned off the materials a bit. So if I turn off the adjustments, logos, and character renders, it's quite simple actually. Like this whole backdrop, it's super, super simple. It's literally, I'll break it down layer by layer and show you how it's built. So it starts off with just a color fill, which is literally, I've just got it at 75% with the lab color space. This is what I was doing this for textures as well. Just to, you know, use limited values, limited amount. So I'm not just picking some random shade of gray. I'm going in here and typing in like 75, because I'm using like increments, like quarters. So half of it would be 50, half of that is 25, so if you wanted it to be darker. But I want like a light background, so I picked 75. But I don't want too light, like 90. That's a little too light. So I went 75. And then I added a little bit of gradient to the corner. And this is, I'm literally just using fill layers only for this. And fill layers are pretty cool, because then you can go in and like resize the whole canvas. And the fill layers don't stop. Like they automatically fill the entire canvas. So you see here how the image actually expands to fit the size. So that's really cool. That's the cool thing about fill layers. So that's what I've just been doing for the background. Just a little bit of gradient, just to add a bit of, to guide your eye from left to right a little bit. Kind of like the Windows 95 interface does with its window borders. And then I have these stripes, which are kind of just borrowed from Gabby's shirt. And also from like European signage from like roads and stuff. So I'll get the what's the reference? Feline Source UI reference. I had like a whole set of pictures of, here we go. I might have shown you guys this one last week. But what I've added a few more to this. And one of the pictures is the Kraftwerk Autobahn album, which is a great album, by the way. Greatest of all time, if I say. And what you'll notice about this album cover is that it looks kind of like Gabby's shirt. It's got the same colors. It's got the stripes. It's got the blue. Now, that's a complete coincidence. And like, I hadn't heard of this album. I hadn't listened to it but when I designed Gabby. It wasn't until afterwards when I had found out about it. And then I realized that, oh, yeah, this sounds really cool. And wow, what a weird thing how the album cover, which I'm told is a European, like in Germany, apparently, like for the highways, that's the sign they use for if you're about to enter the highway. And I think what this is, it's a road with 2 lanes, and then that's an overpass. That's like a bridge over the top. I think that's what that means. But just the ethos of it, the vibe, the simplicity, the colors, the feeling, the emotion. And this is where we start getting into the subjective. And this is where it's really cool, because this picture, to me, feels exactly kind of in line of what I want, but it feels a bit older. It's like an older version, a more austere version of what I want, because this was designed in the 70s. So they've got a more classic font, which is Futura, I think. I'm pretty sure that's Futura regular, or Futura, yeah, that's Futura regular with some spacing, and then just this nice blue and white. I don't know what it is, but the shape is cool and all, and that gives you an emotion, but the color choice really sets the tone. If you change this to a red, very different vibe, very different feeling. So I wanted to kind of use that part that's already in Gabby's character design and the vibe of this album cover, and I kind of do my own, and this is it with the color turned on. It's like, how would I make this picture a little less 70s and a little bit more 2000s? And I thought, well, I'll just soften and let the gradient do the work a little bit. So if I turn off the gradients, this is all it is, really. It's just white stripes with some transparency. So if I up this all the way to maximum, yeah, there we go. So it's literally just white stripes. Just checking something about the opacity seems a bit off. Oh, there we go. So there we go. So white stripes, and then just a blue background, kind of like Gabby. And these are from Gabby's color palette as well. And then I just added a bit of transparency to the stripes. Like that. I'll just like lower this a little bit. Yeah, there we go. That's better. And that's literally the background layer. Now, for the stripes, I did something interesting here. And you'll notice that when I zoom out, it breaks a little bit. So these are just made up of squares. I'll just isolate one of them. So the way I've built these is I've got 2 squares. And this is all grid aligned and everything. And I just have them sitting on top of each other like that with a bit of a gap in between it. And then what I do is I've got this curve. And I made this in Illustrator. Just as a SVG file. And it's literally just like a 45-degree angle with a radius on the bottom and top. Because in Illustrator, it's a little easier. I don't really know how to use it that well, but it's easier to, when you have corners, you can just drag a widget and it softens and curves the corners automatically. So I set the degrees to a certain amount and then made it just so that this middle area here, this area is exactly at 45 degrees. And like I said in the previous streams, 45 degrees is great when you have these accents because it doesn't have that weird anti-aliasing. So you can see here that the pixels are perfect fill. There's no half pixels or anything like that. But if you rotate the angle just a little bit, I mean, it's going to do a bit of a better job because this is an SVG file. It's a vector. But if you add filtering to it, you see how now it's uneven? Like the slope, the amount of pixels is uneven. And I know this seems like a super minute detail, but I don't know. I think there's a certain thing to be said about making the image it's sort of the equivalent of when games use DLSS. I'm sure you guys have had grievances with that or have seen a lot of discussion about it. Or games now, to achieve a lot of their effects and anti-aliasing, will create like fake frames, or they'll do like temporal Like, we're going to use a frame from the previous frame and a frame from the next one, and we're going to, like, blend it so that you don't notice the aliasing. But it has so many compromises and unintended artifacts, and you see, like, the smearies everywhere, where if you move your hand, you'll see, like, ghosting and stuff. I know this is an unrelated thing, but the real issue that people have is not with how it looks, necessarily. That's not really the problem. The problem is that whatever those artifacts are happening as a result are not on purpose. It's unintended. That's the real problem. If it was done intentionally, which I don't know why you'd want to do it intentionally, but if it was, it wouldn't annoy people so much if it was deliberate. But it's not, which is why everyone's so upset about it. It's, you know, if it was on purpose, it would look better because it actually takes a bit of effort to do something deliberately. But it's the same kind of principle with how I do angles and how I like arrange, how I have it so that it's trying to be as pixel perfect as possible. It's when it's not pixel perfect, it creates ambiguity, it creates indeliberate or non-deliberate results. So I've deliberately made it so that any kind of smears and angles, with the exception of like the curves, if it's a straight line, it has to be 45 degrees because it just visually is clearer. So you won't notice it normally, but if you are just comparing it to a designer who hasn't done that, you'll notice that my pictures will look a little sharper as a result. And you won't be able to explain why unless you go and zoom in super close. And that's because it's literally pixel perfect. So again, I know it's like a small thing, but I always get super annoyed when I see a picture. You can tell they've like scaled stuff and not filtered it properly, and it looks a little blurry. You see this out in public all the time with like family-owned restaurants, I'll notice. They'll have like, or government buildings in particular. You'll see like they have an ad for, I don't know, some pick up your rubbish or whatever ad they have, but the image that they've got, whoever's made the ad hasn't scaled it properly, and they have this huge stock image that's lower res than the rest of the text, so you'll see like actual, it's like blurry, and I don't know, I notice it all the time and it annoys me so much. Everyone tells me that oh, big deal, who cares, but look, it bothers me. Okay, if it didn't matter, then it wouldn't bother me. So, you know, I take my stripes here just as seriously. So if I turn that back on, because literally all this is, I've got the curve, and then I've got the curve on that side, so they're just sitting on top of each other, and then boom, now you've got a full stripe, and then you just copy it a few times, and bam. Now on this middle layer here, I've added a bit of gradient to it just to make it feel a bit cooler, you know, just to add a bit of, you know, just to add a bit of something different. So the outer two stripes have a gradient mask on them. And yeah. And then you add like the little color. This is literally just a fill layer with a blue color on it. So you can change this to be a different color just very easily. But we'll leave it at blue. And then you get the accents. And these are made of the same shapes as the stripes. The exact same. And these are just black. So you can see here, I've got my little... I'm just reusing this curve vector file everywhere. And if I scale this up, you see it's because it's an SVG, it infinitely scales. So I've just put that, I've made this like, you know, this accent is then double the thickness, and then you just slot this at the end. It's like a Lego set, you know, it just fits. It's like kind of a BSP modeling, or it's like a Lego set, or like a Creation Club kit, you know, in like Bethesda's Creation Engine where they have those dungeon tiles. It's sort of the same idea where I've just got pieces, prefabbed pieces of elements or styling that I just put on. And then, wow, look at that. We've got this cool background just made of like squares, gradients, and just a curve vector. And that's it. And then if you want to, then the little extra spice on top, I've got this fill overlay. Actually, wait, is that that's a shape layer. Can I make that a fill layer? Oh, I can make it a fill layer. Oh, sick. All right, well, I'll make that a fill layer then, because it should be. So I've got this pattern that I've made in advance of scan lines, just to add that kind of extra 2000s vibe to the whole thing. And all I do is, we'll call this pattern, so I'll make that a fill layer, just to make it that much better. And then we'll add like 25% opacity and change the blend mode to overlay. And then this, it's kind of hard to see when you zoom out, but if you zoom in now, you'll see like this sort of light combing and scan lines on it. Actually, I don't know, should I make that more? I'll make it 50%. I'll make it a little heavier. And then I just add the character render on top. And this literally, it's just Gabby's character render with a drop shadow. So I've just got a shadow that's like angled at negative 45 degrees. I could make it 45 or negative 40. Again, I'm trying to keep it into that 90, 45, 0 kind of straight increments range with the angles. And it's literally just a hard shadow. There's no soft diffuse or anything like that. And then I've got some little adjustments as well, that just to make her stand out a bit. So the first one of these is a blur, because this image of Gabby is also pixel perfect, and it's a sort of smart object, so it doesn't have an infinite resolution, but it's so that when I scale it down and back up again, it doesn't compress the hell out of it. But to make it look less obvious, I put a little 1 pixel of blur on it, which I would do to the final export for these renders anyway, because again, I draw these without filtering turned on. So when I'm there drawing and like touching these up, these are also just taken. This one in particular was taken from a model screenshot, and then I drew over it in Clip Studio. And when I did that, I didn't have anti-aliasing or anything on. So I go and add it here. That's where I do that. And then I've got a little curves layer just to lighten it up a little bit. So it stands out a little. Actually, I don't know. I don't even know if that's necessary. Is that necessary? I don't know. I kind of just like how it makes her face look a bit brighter. That's the main thing. And then there's one last little folder, and that's these 2 layers. So I've got an adjustment layer called curves, which just adds a bit of contrast to it. These are just little final finishing touches. And then I've got this color lookup, which I used to abuse these way too much. I used to overuse these. I used to have like 10 of these on my pictures, and it was not good. So I'm just using a Kodak. I think it's like the Kodak 29. I don't know. It kind of makes the pinks and blues just a bit, I don't know, tastier is the word I would use. But I don't go full strength though. So this is at max opacity, but both of these adjustments I do at 50%, just so that it adds a little bit, just a little. And it kind of, I don't know, it makes the composition and everything, you can sort of see the difference. It just makes it feel a bit completer. You know what I mean? Like the blues and everything, it just kind of goes together a little bit more. And then I have like these text layers here and the logo, which I've just put in. And that's the breakdown of this. But it's it seems really simple, right? It's like, oh, this is super basic. Anyone could make this. Yes. But the problem is, at least for me, is that there's like a fear, I guess, when you're beginning, of like doing too little. It's like, oh, I gotta do more. More is more. I gotta do more like great effects, and like all of my older images I used to use for like YouTube thumbnails, whatever, they were just overdone with too many effects. So the skill I'm basically learning is composing an image that is like with the least amount of ingredients that still looks sick, right? So we can see here in my little layer view. Firstly, I don't know if you guys can see that. My camera might be blocking it. But the can I move? Oh, I can move it. Okay, sweet. But you'll notice that there's not a lot. Like, it's quite well organized. And if we like expand everything, which I think, like, it's not that complicated. It's quite simple, but I think it takes courage to keep it simple, but also to make good use of less things and not have it look too basic, right? So actually this layer is not getting used. I can get rid of that. So I've just, everything that isn't necessary has now been deleted. And yeah, it's very, very primitive. Like the background is super primitive. It's just the most complicated thing are the stripes, really. So like, it's just those stripes, which just add that, it just adds that bit of coolness and like flow to the whole thing. So yeah, you can even, I guess you could even take the scanned lines off and it still looks good, but I just kind of like the color and feeling that these give. But yeah, so that's the breakdown of, and then I've got Gabby's other render as well here. I can see what you guys mean now. You guys were telling me last week that the pose was a bit awkward, and I can totally see it now. I had to like look away from it for a bit, and now when I look at it again, it's like absolutely. So at the moment, I'm just using this older render, but I do want to make up some more poses at some point that use like this facial expression, but with better body proportions and better posing for the body. But yeah, but that's the breakdown of how to create like a decent kind of old school 2005 desktop wallpaper. Yeah, I guess this is now, if we turn off this text, this is now a desktop wallpaper. There we go. So I don't know now here's my question, my subjective question for the audience here is, I don't know, when you look at this, what vibes does it give you? How does this make you feel? What impression do you get from this picture? I'm curious to know. Denpacky says the glow up on Gabby's model is just perfect. Oh, thank you so much, man. That means a lot. I have worked so hard for someone to call my work perfect. That means so much to me. Thank you. Man, well, hopefully when I make the video on it and show more people, a lot of people will also see. Maybe they'll agree. Farplane says sports game. Cosmic says the design makes me feel alive in all capitals. Thank you, Cosmic. That's fantastic. Dan D-Man says futuristic. Emmett says Wii Sports. Hungry Ducklings from Twitch chat says it looks really good. I agree. The model is. Thank you. I really appreciate that, guys. It's so much work. So I haven't forgotten about the devlog. I've just been kind of juggling both design and this video at the moment. There's just one little bit I'm stuck on for the script at the end. There's a bit of complicated techno babble jargon about, I think it's like normal editing. Oh no, not normal editing. I got that part. It's the texturing that I'm a little stuck on. Describing the vector, because a lot of the textures had to be done in a certain way so that they would hold up at renders like this. So I'm just cutting out the fat of that part. But yeah, you guys will see in due time. It'll be good. But I appreciate you guys waiting it out and being patient for that one. I want it to be I want the video to be just as perfect as the model. So it's a lot of work. Sabashol says, feels like I just stepped out of the shower. Probably because I usually play games after I shower when I was a kid. Oh, that's awesome. That's really cool. Man, I never thought, that's a really interesting experience. Playing games after getting out of the shower. That's a vibe. As the Zoomers would say, man, that's such a vibe. It's true. The stripes in the middle feel weirdly mesmerizing. It's so simple, but I haven't seen anything like it. Oh, thank you so much. Well, this is good. Okay, this is really good feedback you're giving me. Because it means I don't know, let me scroll up just to check. I don't think I've seen anyone like get pissed off at anything about this picture so far, which is good. Although there's a lot of, why is there like 10 deleted messages here? I don't know. Was there a dating bot in chat? What's going on? What was the inspiration to make the protagonist a cat girl? Well, when I was like, how old? Maybe 10 or 11 years old. I drew, that's when I came up with, that's when the character was conceived. And I literally don't know. One day, I sat down, I drew this character, and it wasn't a huge deal. She didn't look like this at the time. But she, all I knew was that, she was sort of like a mutant between a cat and a human, and her name was Gabby. And then for the next, I don't know, 10 years during high school and stuff, I became like weirdly fixated on like developing this character and coming up with this whole story and this like, what if I made a game about this? And then a little bit of time later, once I was done with school, I thought I gotta give this a proper go. And it turns out giving things a proper go is huge. That's a big undertaking. But here we are, and we're making headway. And, well, you know, now she looks hopefully like a professional character and not just some 10-year-old's drawing. You know, but yeah, so the inspiration, I don't know. It was so long ago. But I think if I had to guess and answer that properly, like there is something I find appealing about a character that doesn't, because I don't want to spoil too much of the lore, but as you've been able to probably guess, a half-cat human person is not a natural occurrence. That's not natural. It doesn't happen all the time. That, you know, people aren't born like that every day. And I always found something fascinating about redeeming something against nature, in a sense, or like bringing it back. So I know that sounds super cryptic, but there's a lot of stuff I've been writing in the game's story and the sort of the subtext to it and everything that I don't want to give too much away of, but I don't know. I just found that because when you design a character like this, there is actually a name. There's a name for this thing, and this goes into another topic I've been reading a lot about from David Ogilvy's book, Ogilvy on Advertising, which I have a copy of right here. Well, I'll get into this more a bit later on the stream, but this is an excellent book for learning about, you know, all these. There's so many like game dev marketer people that all tell you how to have the best idea for a game. Is you got to just do what's trending and what the market wants. And I disagree. I think that's total rubbish. But Ogilvy has a principle, which I think I do agree with, which is that he uses this for advertising, and that's when you have an ad. If you're using a picture, it should have. I'm trying to do his voice. He's a Irish gentleman who's very, like, you know, sophisticated. He was like the father of advertising. And Ogilvy says, Your picture should have story appeal. That's a terrible impression of his voice. But I think, I don't know, something about my kid self kind of knew that intuitively. So having a character that's like not quite fully natural, but, you know, still have a spirit to her, still try, you know, have this kind of athletic attitude of, like, I don't know what you'd call it. She definitely looks like, you know, she looks like when she has a goal, she's gonna go achieve it, right? Even if, you know, or if she has somewhere to, if she's trying to go somewhere, you know. Hold on. Okay, I don't want to say more of that sentence. I don't want to spoil the plot. But the principle, I think, that maybe helped guide the design was story appeal, because it does look interesting, right? You look at a character like this, and there's a bit of intrigue. You know, you'll notice that one of her ears is missing as well. And that's probably what Ogilvy would also call story appeal, because it's like, whoa, why is there an ear missing? What's the story? I need to know. And he actually did this idea for, I don't know if you guys know Hathaway shirts. We don't have that in Australia, but apparently in America it's like a huge shirt brand. It's apparently, there's this famous advertisement that he did of the eye patch guy. This was his idea. And it's the same kind of thing as what Gabby's got, isn't it? Where it's like all of their ads, if to sell a shirt, they thought, we'll get for all our ads to sell a t-shirt or not a t-shirt, you know, a button shirt, we're going to sell them with a guy wearing an eye patch. And that was like that lasted 20 years, that campaign. So on all their ads for 20 years, they gave the guy an eye patch, and that sold so many shirts. And, you know, there's a certain, like, marketing angle to it. But if you're developing a game with a narrative, you can actually... you have story appeal, but you can also actually make that the story. You know? Because an ad doesn't really... You know, it's an ad. It's not really a piece of story or narrative per se. But that's the cool thing about games, that you can kind of try and deliver on the story appeal in the picture. So, which, yeah, you wouldn't get if she wasn't, like, that whole dynamic you wouldn't have if she was just, you know, if there was nothing wrong with her, right? If she was just normal. She was just a normal kid, you know? So I guess maybe that's part of it as well. But yeah, I hope that comprehensively answers that. Because yeah, I've had some more time to think about it as I've been reading this book. Because I didn't do that on purpose. That was just kind of a, oh, that'd be cool. But now I'm starting to learn why I thought it was cool in the first place. Gabby's appearance on it in itself is a walking contradiction. Yeah, kind of. But it does make you curious. And I don't think that's a stretch, you know, because a lot of you guys ask me about questions about her all the time. You guys find, you know, there's probably a lot of the reason why some of you have found it, have been interested in the game, is that one of you did say this once. This was ages ago. Some comment I read. This was years ago. Somebody said that like they were super curious, or just the fan artwork I think tells me that as well. You know, if Gabby wasn't that interesting, none of you would be drawing artwork of her. And, you know, maybe there's something to that, right? But I do find that interesting, you know, where she's not fully human, and it's like, well, what do you do in life when you're not fully human? What happens? Where do you belong? Where do you fit in the world if you're in this state? How do you, you know, a lot of questions you can ask. It makes you curious about things. So, you know, could Gabby develop a game? Oh, I don't know, man. I don't think she doesn't really use computers that much. Maybe Felix could. Maybe he could do it. That's one of the other characters who's at the current time of the draft. He's good with computers, so maybe he could do it. Nebulosity says, yeah, it immediately creates intrigue without you realizing it. Yeah, I guess, yeah, kind of does. But anyway, I just, we'll move on to the next task for today. How are we doing for time? All right, I got about another hour. So what I want to do next with this design, and thanks for the feedback, by the way. So yeah, it's good to know that it feels athletic and cool, and like you came out of the shower. That's a vibe. That's awesome. So that's good. It means I've achieved my subjective goal for the aesthetic, which means you can then start to go and implement this in certain areas. So, for instance, if we can like turn off some of the images, you can probably start to imagine how on a menu this might look, or how on a website this might look. And what I was thinking to do for this rest of the stream is try to create just some basic styling with this in mind for the website. I don't know how far we'll get, but it's worth a shot. Excuse me. Oh god, I'm just had a huge breakfast. So I need to open my ID. Oh yeah, by the way, I also installed this. Speaking of user interface, I installed this program that changes the start menu back to the Windows 95 start menu, and it's so good, man. It's so good. Look at this. There's Visual Studio. Let's crack that open. It's so awesome, man. Man, I will restrain myself, but there's such a huge rant I'd love to go on about the decline of UI design, but not today. Unless, I don't know, unless someone like super chats me like $10 to make it worth it. But we're going to stay on task. So I'm going to open up the website, which I haven't shown you guys this in a little while now. I really just wanted to get the design nailed first of the aesthetic before I went and finished this thing. Now there's a bit of setup I gotta do. I gotta remember. There's a few files I need to delete first, because there's like I'm using Hugo to build this thing, and it does this thing where it's like, I don't know, it's complicated, but I've tried to import files from my notes over, but one of them had this problem, and if they're in there, then the website doesn't compile. So I just have to clear it out, and I'll regenerate them at some point later. But I just gotta clear out the public folder and the content folder. So hold on a sec. Give me 1 minute. I have to clear them all out, except there's like 2 files that I have to keep. Let me just find them. And I'll show you guys what it looks like currently in just a minute, and then we'll try to. What we're gonna try and do is just the basics. Can we get a basic CSS document that takes the current theme and makes it look a little bit like this thing I've made, this image. And we'll see how we do. And then it'll give us a chance to think about if we want to implement the stripes or any fancy borders. It'll give us a better idea on how difficult that might be. Because that's the thing I got to keep in mind as well, is that I don't want to over-design it where it becomes so hard to implement anywhere, because you need a lot of these custom images or custom whatever. I want to be able to, just with CSS, see if we can get something that feels close. And then if we need like special borders of some kind or whatever, then we maybe 20% of that in the design, but no more. You know, we don't want to have the whole design dependent on things like that. I think that's... okay, I'll just delete those. And then there's a static. I'm going to delete the static folder. So if I go to terminal and then I type in this command... it'll build... it should let me open the website at least, just to show you how it currently looks. Wherever it is. Hold on a minute. I don't think it's working. Oh, error. Okay, no, hold on. Oh, did I not type in the command properly? Okay, now it's working. So... alright, so there's no contents in it at the moment, just because it'll glitch out. But what's gonna be here is that I don't know what the homepage is gonna look like yet. Because I realized that I can have a homepage now, because I'm building it myself. And I've never been on a website that had a good homepage. But that used to be a thing all the time, 15 years ago. So I should give it some thought of what I want on my homepage still. But the contents... if you have like an article or something, if you have a blog post, for instance, it'll be in this main column with this on the side with links to navigate. But I have contemplated whether I want to add a column on the other side as well, just to make use of the width. But this is the default theme at the moment, which is sort of themed around sort of like the 1950s aesthetic, because I just like it. Because this is going to be more than just Project Feline, it's going to be my website. So there'll be a Project Feline section, and I want that to have theming consistent with the game. But then the rest of the site that isn't to do with Feline, I want it to kind of have this sort of 50s look. So what I will have at some point, because now that I've got the blogging framework is done and works, the content for it has been cataloged and organized. It's just the design. That's the only bit. So the thing that's going to happen is there'll be like a blog section, and a lot of it will just be Project Feline stuff. But I also want to have some other areas with like cataloging other things that I think are important to preserve, that I would want to share with people that don't necessarily have a direct relevance to Project Feline. So things like, my Raymond's top 5 favorite songs or something, or his favorite books, or whatever, like something a bit personal, because websites today are just so kind of corporate, over the top, and unpersonal. I want to have few little areas like that, but the majority of the site is probably going to be Project Feline stuff, and I want to give that its own theming, that it's that looks like this. So to do that though, we need CSS. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my I think it's in my themes folder, and I'm going to make another CSS. We'll make a copy of this. Can I paste that? There we go. We'll call this Feline CSS, because this has all the theming and colors of the current theme. Or this is going to be for the actual thing. So I'm just trying to think what I should start with, of how I want it to look. Maybe the background stripes. Maybe I can export that as a picture of some kind. And I just realized there's something really cool I could do with this. Because of how it's built... Let me just save this document first before I go and start modifying too much. But I just realized something cool. What I can do on the site. I only really need to export the stripes, because you can do the gradient in CSS so that it doesn't have, because if you export this whole thing as an image, and if you zoom in closer, you'll get this banding because it has to compress it. And I just realized, because of how simple this is, I don't need that. I can just export these as like a transparent WebP file and have that as the background. Let's do it. Let's do it. So if I go to, what I will do though, I might turn off the gradient mask on this and make it just, and then we can have it maybe tile as well across horizontally, maybe something like that. But I just want to have it so that I can at least stretch it out to the sides of the screen. So I'll just save this. We'll go to the website. I've got to go to the website folder for this one. Actually, I should save this file as its own thing. I'll get rid of the text, because this is the thumbnail for the stream. I don't want to modify this document too much. So I will not do that. We'll save this as its own thing. We'll call this Feline background. And I'll prefix it with the time and date. What's today? The 10th of October. And the time is website. I just gotta remember where this is supposed to go. Assets? No. Oh, I could have sworn I had a folder that had source files in it. Oh, maybe it was that. Themes. Content. Assets. Images. Ah, here we go. Found it. Alright, so that's saved. And we'll save this as a WebP. And I'm using WebP because it's just more optimized, it's small, and it does transparency. And it's just nice. The images are super tiny when you use this format. So we're going to save that out. I guess we'll do just high. We don't need maximum. And then if I go to my good old handy dandy file explorer, and we go to, we can go look at that picture. I think it's in, layer, where was it? It was, I think it was in assets, images. Yeah, here we go. So if we go full screen here, you see, here's the other ones, and there's the stripes. And if we go look at those, look at this, dude. Freaking 4 kilobytes. Isn't that incredible? 4 kilobytes. That's so cool. If you did that as a JPEG or a PNG, it'd be like double the size. So now I'm gonna open the code. So I can minimize Photoshop. It's Visual Studio. Your Windows feels like wood. Thanks, Denpaki. That is deliberate. I don't like all this modern Windows. I think actually I'm actually running a huge risk now, because this is Windows 10, which is not supported anymore as of this month. So yeah, but I've gone back to the old Windows theming. I've tried to hack the computer as much as possible, because I've got a wood desk. I like wood. It's a good material. It's very 50s, mid-century, which is sort of the theming of the default website theme. So I wanted my whole interface to look the same. And then plus the Windows 95 start menu, you got it almost, you wouldn't know that it's Windows at all. And that's kind of the point, because I don't want to think about I don't want to think about what version of Windows it is at all. I just want it to be my computer. That's what... Do they even call it that anymore? Remember when the shortcut was called My Computer? I think it isn't called that anymore, which is, maybe that's saying something. Now, for the image, I think it's right here. I've got a link. So I'll rename that to this. If I just change that, and if I open the website, wherever it is. Oh, here we go. And I have to refresh it. Okay, that doesn't work. Why didn't that work? Okay, it's been a little while since I've touched CSS, so I will get things wrong. But I really want to just get something basic here. Oh, that's body background. Oh wait, no, that should be, yeah, that's the right one. Huh, why is that not working? Let me just get rid of these comments. I don't need these code comments here. Oh, maybe... Oh no, that should work. Why isn't that work? Okay, this classic programmer moment. Why isn't it working? It's gonna be one of those streams where nothing works. No, this happened before. No, I remember this. See, this is why I don't like coding. Okay, I'm not the best. Oh no, I don't have the freaking... Oh god, I'm a goofy goober. I didn't have a semicolon at the end of that. This is why I hate coding. I'm a more graph blueprints kind of guy, but I also want my website to run well, so, you know. Maybe I gotta get rid of the leading slash? Okay, no. Okay, well, for whatever reason, this is now not working. What if I change it back to... Oh! I know why. I know why. I have to copy this to the... there's a folder I've got to copy this image to. It's got to be in the root folder for the... I think there's got to be... Oh, no, wait a minute. Oh, no. No, that's not right. No, it should be here. Yeah, so I've got to put the picture here in this folder, which I know it's something I shouldn't have to do, but my version is like glitched out of this is the Hugo framework I'm using, and there's an issue with mine where I have to put it in that folder. I haven't fixed it yet. I don't know what the deal is, but that's the best I'll be able to do for the moment. Now it's still not working. Interesting. Let me try and paste that link again just to make sure I didn't screw up something. All right, no, okay, it's busted. What's going on? Hold on a minute. Is it called this PC now? Oh, is it? Oh man. Oh, it is. Yeah, that's right. Oh, that's... Man, what happened? Red Nuru says, new here. I just want to know... are the you consider to put like Steam Workshop to allow community mod when release? As much as I would like to, I have no idea how to do that. So I'm gonna say no for the time being, mainly because I have a lot of work ahead of me as it is, and there's a lot I don't know how to do, and I'd rather invest the time in just making the what would you call it? Not community-made content, but the opposite of that. The stuff that's actually in the game, I'd rather invest in my skills and abilities to make that stuff good than to develop it and have it rely overly on community stuff, if that makes sense. Like, I'd much rather have the scenario where it releases and then people go, man, I wish this is so good, I wish it had community support, versus, oh, the game is so bad it needs the community support to save it. Kind of like, you know how when people talk about Bethesda games, how they need to be modded because the vanilla experience is so bad? What I want to do is the opposite of that. So I would rather like not do community support at all, just so that the actual vanilla game is good and that people want it. It's like, it's so good that they want it. So that because then that way, if you do a second game, then that's something you can explore. And it's like, all right, well, the first one was so good, and it was so good, it's just people wanted more of it. Like, that's a good problem to have, I think, where it's like, oh, the vanilla experience and everything was amazing, the levels were amazing, and it was so good. The only thing people were sad about is that they couldn't make their own. Like, that to me is like a good problem, because you can't do everything all at once, right? So I would rather be in that position rather than the opposite of the vanilla content was so bad, just don't bother playing it, go and download all the community stuff. Because, you know, I feel kind of like I don't deserve to sell the game if I have to rely on that, right? So yeah, so that's the current thing, because you can't pick everything, you can't choose everything, you got to pick your limits and choose your battles carefully. So my choice would be the vanilla content that's in the game that people are actually paying for and making that good. And then maybe, you know, if it does really well, if the game like makes a more billion dollars, let's say, then I'll have time and support and like to go and learn how to do Steam Workshop. Because to do that properly, I'm gonna guess will take at least 6 months, if not longer, to not screw it up. Because it's, I don't know. I don't know anything about it though, but I do know that everything is never as it seems, and everything is always 10 times harder than it looks. So, yeah. So my short version is not for now, but if circumstances change and I'm able to, then that'd be something I'd like to look at. But I'm not a god programmer, okay? I'm not that good. I mean, I can't even get a background working for a web page. I can't even get a background. So that's, you know, do you really want this guy to trust me with mod support? I don't think you'd want to do that. I don't think I'd be that good at it. So yeah, but I do appreciate the enthusiasm though. I do appreciate that. It just means that if the game does well enough, it'll give me something to do for the next one. So what does Steam Workshop even do? Is it an alternate way of installing mods? To my understanding, yes, but I don't use it that much. That's another reason as well, by the way, is because I don't use the workshop that often. I don't play games that often anymore anyway. So that's a whole other story. I know that sounds kind of sad, but no, I was never really that into modding or community support in general. So that's not my strength. So I would much rather, if I was to do that route, spend a good like 6 months to a year using them myself in the games I own as a gamer to understand the experience of what makes a good Steam Workshop ecosystem, what makes it good, what makes it not good. You know, because there is probably a way you could screw it up. It's like, what's the worst implementation of that? What's the best? And like, then kind of, you know, think and act about how I want to go about doing that. That's the environment I'd want to do that in. I wouldn't want to do it just rushed, because like 5 people want it, and it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'll just rush it and put it in. That's not what I want to do, because I know that the implementation just would be bad, and it'd probably break half the time if I went at it with that attitude. So yeah, so it means if you want that outcome where there is like community maps for any game I do, it means it'll take a long time. But if we get to that point, which I don't know, I have hope we could get there someday. But I'd like it so that when I do get there, it's done right and not just, you know, lazily. Done thoughtfully and intentionally. It's my favorite word. But yeah, but I would say I'm definitely underleveled for that, considering I can't even get one freaking background file to work. Maybe, actually, maybe not. Actually, maybe I will be able to fix it. Hold on. Okay, no, I still didn't fix it. Okay, yeah. So, whenever I don't program for more than a week, I lose all my abilities. That's the other thing that makes it hard for me. I've literally lost all my memory of how to do this. Like, it should work. I don't know why it's not working. So yeah, that's if I wanted to go and implement Steam Workshop, it would be 6 months of that. It'd be me looking around at everything, installing the Steam API, and going, why isn't this working? So that's the thing you got to keep in mind. If I did want to do it, it would be 6 months or more of brute force. Why isn't this working until it works? But that doesn't happen overnight, you know. So. Like, I don't understand. This is in the right folder. This is literally in the exact right folder it should be. Unless it can't use transparent pictures for some reason, which would be silly, but I don't know. Or, unless I'm not using... Maybe... Hold on a minute. Background. No, it is using that variable. Okay, this is now the part of the stream where I get into an argument with my computer. No, I don't want to. No. Hold on a minute. I'm in the zone. Give me a sec. Let me try that again. Okay, no. Why is adding a background so hard? Oh my god, I thought this would be a piece of cake. I was like, this morning, I was like, oh, I know what I'll do. I'll just like implement some basic... okay, we'll do the colors instead, seeing as the background isn't freaking working. So, colors. I'm gonna get stuck on that for a freaking ages. But yeah, I don't know. So there's probably some problem with the plugin I'm using, I'm guessing. Because literally, it's got the right path. That's literally the actual path it's on. If I replace this with like the path of this instead, it'll probably like that should work, unless it doesn't. In which case, okay, literally no background is working. Even the ones that I know are in the path for sure and are being used in the rest of the picture. Unless I can't use a color and a URL at the same time. Okay, that's weird. I don't know what's going on. So, okay, we'll do the colors. Sorry, this is getting boring. We'll do the colors. So, the shade of blue that I want this shade. Which is... We'll just do a hex value. Simple as. For the back... Can I at least change the background color? That's what I want to know. Okay, that is not working either. Oh! I am such a goober. I've just realized... Oh, I had a giga brain moment right there. I wasn't crazy after all. Okay, no, I know why it's working. So that... I didn't tell it to use the new CSS file. Ah. I am such a genius, guys. So yeah. Oh. Yes, I am a programmer. How could you tell? That's right. No, so I gotta go to partials. Where is partials? Layout partials. Head. And then I gotta change this to the Feline CSS file. It's still doing the other CSS because I made it a different file. Okay, now it's... Yeah, baby, look at that. Now we got the blue stripes, except the stripes, I don't know if there's a way to tile it where it mirrors it and then tiles. Is that I don't know if that's possible. Or to offset it. I don't know if that's possible either, because it does bother me that it, like, clips at the edge there. Unless... I don't know. CSS tile image mirror. I don't know if that's possible. Mirror horizontally. Oh, you gotta get a script? Okay, maybe not. Well, maybe. But this looks a bit too complicated. We'll just do... I have a simpler implementation for the moment. I'll just take... This is very unoptimal, but... Oh, wait. What the hell did I just do? Did I actually... Hold on. The image just stretched like that. Without... Huh. How did I... Okay, I'm confused. That's what I wanted it to do, but how did it know to do that? It's just got a bit of... on the sides. Hold on, that's not... Actually, that's not quite what I wanted. Oh, because I probably stretched the whole image. That's probably how. No, I don't want the... You know what? I'll just leave it as it is for the moment, because I wanted it so that the image would be mirrored, but to like crop it and flip it and whatever. It keeps doing stuff I don't want it to do. So we'll just leave it at that. And I'll get the panel color that I want. We'll just get that next. So the thing is, I've been learning about design. Main background. This is also, I think we'll just make this white. And now I want to change the sidebar color to be blue, like a dark blue. So I want to, we'll take the value and we'll make this like 50 or 25. Maybe, I don't know, maybe 50 is fine actually. And main column background, I don't think that's it. Oh, maybe we'll do that. And then a side background. So this is going to look pretty weird at the moment because I've still got this sort of, this is the theming from the default, my default theme, where you can see I've got an image as a border. But I want to do, I don't know if I should, God, because that's the thing is what, because the thing I still need to work out is on the web page, what kind of borders do I want to have, if any, of what variety. I think I'll just do I'll do very simple. We'll do like no more advanced than 2004 level. So you won't have image borders. We'll just, if there is going to be any image trims, it'll be on the background, not on the main contents. I've decided. I'm trying to like come up with just making decisions as quicker with this sort of thing. So I'm thinking, what's the simplest that gets the feeling across? And that's sort of where I'll set the bar. So one thing so I want to have like a white, where's the aside border? I made these all variables to help me out a bit. Aside border image. Okay, I don't want an image, I just want a side. We'll make a new variable, aside border. And we'll just do white. I'll add a little comment for me. Aside column border color. And then later on, there should be a part where it defines a side. Here we go. And there'll be like a thing for the fill and border in here somewhere. It might be it might be in, here we go. So border image, we want to delete all that. We'll just go border. And I think here is where you put var aside border. I think that's where that goes. And then if I bring it back, yeah, okay, now it's going to have a really thick white border. I don't want it to be that thick. So we'll do like 2 pixels. That's a bit better. So you can kind of, you can see the feelings sort of changing, right? But we need some margins or padding because it's all a bit out of whack. So padding. I think 20 pixels, because there's also something I've shown you, maybe shown you guys before, but when designing web pages, this is the sort of de facto grid system that old websites used to use, and that's where you have columns, a limited amount of columns with a certain amount of pixels for spacing and that variety. So I think what I'm doing for mine, I'm doing a 16 column. Actually, maybe I'm doing am I doing the 16 or the 12? I think I'm doing the 12. Yeah. So the 12 column sort of layout. Actually, let me assess that. Yeah, pretty sure it's the 12 one. And then the borders in between are 20 pixel margins, which create 10 pixel margins, which create 20 pixel gaps between each element, which is like a good amount. So the margins and padding on these should be 10 pixels, or roughly like that, 10 or 20 pixels. So that looks good. Now the font and text color is all out of whack, so we got to fix that. So you can start to kind of see, I don't know if you guys can see, but when I do the fonts, it'll be even more obvious. But just by using the most austere, smallest set of ingredients possible, how can you make this feel the feelings that you guys were describing? The athletic, sporty, light, summery, with the least ingredients, with just colors and fonts, with the least amount of images and shapes you can. That's sort of the fun. That's the fun factor to this sort of design. Now, this is sort of where the text color gets kind of. I gotta remember what's because I have a lot of variables and maybe too many. So we'll do nav color. I'll make it all white. So I don't know if that'll do anything yet, because that's not being used. But I'll make white. Actually, I might leave the nav area alone, because I know that this is not being used, and I will want to use this later, but it has to be set a certain amount. But I need the element in the page, which I don't have at the moment. So I'll just leave that part alone. But there is, I think up here, further up, there's a side link. Yes, here we go. Oh, link hover color. Oh, here we go. Okay. So this is where we can get a bit creative and pick some cool shade of blue for links. But it has to be a blue that complements, or maybe, let me think. Yeah, it can't be like too... it can't blend into the background. It has to be... Maybe this blue might be fine. And then when you hover over it... Because, yeah, you get control over this stuff like this in CSS, which is just so cool. Now, for link hover, I will make this slightly lighter. We'll do like 90%. So I'm just using lab colors for all this stuff, and just incrementally going up in value. That's literally like the grayscale value. So that way, even if you look at the website in black and white, it still looks readable and not garbage. Now the link body color, I think I should probably make this the same as the aside link color. Now there's something else about interfaces I've been picking up on that I'll get into while I'm modifying the text colors here. And that's that, I don't know if I still have my reference here, but as I've been looking at some menus and the sort, especially like the most classic timeless ones ever, a lot of them don't use a lot of different text colors. So, which game was it? I don't think I have it on this picture, but I think it was some old, like, oh, I thought I had a picture of it here. Okay, maybe it was on my other reference. It was like some driving arcade game from Japan. Hold on, I gotta find it. Because this is such a cool observation with graphic design. So if I go to the source, Feline... Oh, where did I put it? What folder did I put it in? It would be in my UI folder. For reference. Oh, I've got a lot of windows open at the moment. It'd be this file. So... let me actually just check. Maybe it's in this one of these folders here. It wasn't Ace Combat. I think it was... Techno Drive. I think that was the name. Yeah, here we go. So you'll probably notice some familiarity with this design and what I'm doing. But you'll notice how almost every text element that's a selectable element like these. You notice how like the text is the same color. And they're very like the way that they pick out colors and text and stuff. Like here, all the text is white. But to help it, they don't switch, you know what I mean? Like they aren't using yellow for one bit and then green for another and then black for another and then white. Every bit of text in this picture is white. But to help it stand out, they keep the middle of the frame, they keep the edges kind of simple, and they have it so that you can still read things in white. But in the middle, to kind of bring emphasis to it, they use the outline, which they don't use on the corners, because they don't want your eye being drawn to it, like, sucked into it. These elements on the side you look at in your periphery, which is why they don't have an outline on them. But the ones that are really important, that need to stand out, that might interfere with the background, is like, it'll have this outline on it. But the text itself doesn't change color. And I just thought that was interesting, where a lot of this sort of stuff, because that's a decision you got to make, is, oh, do I want to make this text white or blue or green or whatever? And it's like, well, actually, a lot of these guys just use the same one. They pick like white or black and just stick with it. So I just thought that was kind of interesting, that they don't need that many colors to make the text readable. Where here you can see that before I had thought too much about it, I'm using maybe too many colors for my text fields. So we're going to reduce that down to just black and like link colors, and that's it really, and not go too far with it. So you can see that the links here, maybe it's a little hard to read. So I might have to make either the border a bit darker or the link color more higher contrast. But for the and the font will help a lot as well. The font is not helping at the moment. Hold on, I got too many windows open. I can't see you guys. Ridge Racer? Oh, I haven't. Sorry, I forgot. One of you told me about this the other week, and I forgot to look at it. I'll look at it real quick. But the game I was just looking at, it was called, what was it? I was just looking at Techno Drive. But Ridge Racer, this looks gorgeous. This looks awesome. The font of this is so cool. Look at that. Beautiful. But yeah, I was looking at... Yeah, Ridge Racer, man, that is a charming game. But Ridge Racer kind of it's got a more of a flatter look to it. It's a bit more austere. And you can see that the color choice and just everything about it is just so good. The only reason it looks like an old game is that the textures are on the interface are just they're a little blurry. But apart from that, if this was like vectorized and put on a high def screen, you wouldn't be able to tell it was old. I guarantee it. It would still hold up great. But yeah, Ridge Racer, this looks gorgeous. Is there any Ridge Racer interface? Ooh! Now this is... Oh, it's got the little stripes as well. How about that? And this is really cool. So a lot of the text is black, except for what's selected. That's really interesting. Maybe we could give that a try. And they're using Impact from... Oh no, that's not Impact. It's similar. It looks really similar to Impact, but it isn't. I don't know what font that is. I have seen it before, and it looks a lot like Impact, but it's not. And I don't remember the name of it. But that is a cool look. I like that. Maybe we can give that a shot. Thanks for the recommendation. It is sick, yeah. It's pretty cool. Ridge Racer 4 is timeless. What was it? Hold on. What was the one I was looking at just now? This is Ridge Racer HD. This is Ridge Racer Spec 8. We'll do Ridge... Oh, no. Is this Ridge Racer 4? Whoa. That's cool. That is so cool, man. Oh. Oh, okay. Maybe this is Ridge Racer 4. Okay, this looks a little older, I can tell. Oh, this is so good. Oh, man. This looks like some kind of remark. Oh, this is a mock-up. Okay, this is not the official one. This looks really good, though. This looks very modernized and good. But the original, whoa. So you can see that there's a little different choice that they've made, where the Behance UI artist that's just doing this for fun, he's using a lot more different text colors. Whereas the original... Yeah, you see here it's using yellow text, black text, and white text, where this one is only using black and white. And it's using black for... Interesting choice. They're using black for the header and footer, and white for the body, for the stuff that you're actually meant to look at. But they give it this gray background to help it, to create contrast around it. That's really cool. This does... Oh, this looks so good. This just looks... It makes me smile, man. Because it looks... Man, it's just so... It doesn't annoy the eye, you know? It's just gorgeous and simple. It's easy to create using only 1, 2, 3, 4, like excluding images, 4 colors. That's just incredible. That's so cool, man. All right, so we're gonna get our version going. Ridge Racer 4. What a gorgeous interface. Now, where was I? I needed to get the body color wherever that was. And then, oh, here we go. Header color. I just want that to be white. And white. There we go. So now on my one, okay, I'm just trying to think. Maybe I should do that as black and the links as white. Maybe I should do that. Like the Ridge Racer people. So it makes the contrast a bit better. A side link. So yeah, what we'll do here, we'll make that white. And then when you hover over it, it turns blue. That's kind of not bad. It's not bad. And then we'll make the fonts match a little better. Because at the moment I'm using the Courier typewriter font or something. Oh, here we go. Body. So we'll just do Arial. I know it's going to sound crazy, but we'll just use Arial and see what happens. And then just see how it looks. Because I'm noticing that skilled people can use stock or default fonts and you don't notice. That's what a skilled designer will be able to do. They can get away with using Helvetica and Arial and you don't even notice it. So, but I think maybe the sidebar should have a bit of flavor to it. So the thing is, I haven't been able to get custom fonts working in Firefox. For Chrome it was working, kind of, but with this CSS system thing I've been doing, for whatever reason, when I tell it what font to use, if it's not a standard font, it just doesn't work on Firefox, which is what I'm using. So we might have to just use, actually maybe Venanda. I like Venanda. I like that font. Maybe we'll use that as the side. Actually, I like that, actually. It looks a bit more... It looks a bit less masculine. I don't know what it is about it. We'll do that for everything. Oh, wait, what is this doing? I don't want to search. No, go away. We'll just use Arial for the whole thing. But can we do something to make this a bit more interesting? I would like to use Serpentine, but it won't work at the moment because until I fix the font problem. But I think for a more finalized thing, I think Serpentine on this, like Arial for the main stuff in the middle, and the little tiny copy at the bottom. But I think Serpentine on these links would look great, but I don't know how to get that working. But this text is annoying me, so I might change. There's some properties here with the aside line height and spacing and all that. Grid area. I think the one I'm looking for is, I think it's header, aside header or something. Panel, image, figure, gallery. Or maybe it is just in aside, color. Font family. No, because there's something that's making the letters spaced out, and I want to get rid of that. List, padding, span. Oh, here we go, here we go. So I'll just get rid of that. And then it's just normal. I think there is something I think that would help this a little bit. And that's giving it like a little, for this text, giving it a little outline, or it's it's like I think it's a drop shadow. But it's to make it like, to make it look kind of bezeled. I'm just trying to remember how to do that. I forgot how to do it. There is a way to do it. I'll just get rid of, yeah, just get rid of this for the moment. So it's all lowercase at the moment. But you see how it kind of, it's starting to, you know, it's starting to look interesting now. It's just this middle part. So I'll just do up that quickly for the border on the middle area. And then I'll try to see if I remember how to do drop shadows on text. Because there are some websites I've seen that do this, where they use drop shadows on text, and they don't add blur, but they just add like a little offset and then set the shadow color so that it looks like the text is indented. That's sort of what I was thinking, but that might be a bit, I don't know, maybe that's too much effort. But I just want a bit of flavor, because the text looks a little, it needs a bit of seasoning, if you know what I mean. Just for the headers. Like some cool thing on it, and I don't know what it is, but I guess we'll just leave it for the moment. But maybe we should keep it barren at the moment and have the whole thing, so then that way I know it's like, okay, which parts need seasoning once I've got the whole thing kind of styled. So we'll just do that main bar next, because that's the main feature, and it's all kind of, it's using the old styling still. So I need to go to, I think it's aside. Where is it? Aside, oh no, main column, background, main column, border. We'll do white. And oh yeah, the semicolon. Can't forget that. Now, there's a main column, background. I forgot what this is for. I know this is for something. Main background. Main background now should be white. Aside. I'm just ignoring the nav stuff because that's not being used yet. Header color, black. Side color, black. Okay, that maybe should be all of it. But if we go back down to aside, main container, column. Here we go, column main, border. We'll do, here it is. Var. Main border. Oh, was that? Yeah. Main border, I think it was called. Alright. Now, it's all going to just look like a big white column, because I think the border and the body are the same. So I might change that to blue instead. This shade. Not that dark. I just want that picture. And then, there. Oh, it seems to not be doing anything. Maybe the border's too thin. Hold on. I must have got something wrong. Main, wherever it is. Sorry, I've been a bit quiet, sorry. Do you have a browser skin for Firefox? No, I'm just using Windows theming. So I might have shown this a bit earlier, but I've, a couple weeks ago, I just got so annoyed with Windows, because as I've been learning UI design and graphic design, I've learned that the Windows 10 and Windows 11 interface annoys me. And I have to look at this thing every day. And it's just, do I want to live the rest of my life looking at an interface that I hate, that annoys me? And I thought, no longer. So I figured out a way to kind of hack the Windows user interface to be what I want. I mean, this isn't exactly what I want, but it's the closest I can get it. So I've reverted a lot of things back to the old, old Windows theming system, and I've just picked out my own colors and my own font and everything. You know, because this, I know people are going to say, oh, it's not important, but it's like, you look at, if you're like me and you work on your computer most of the time, this is like, you look at this thing every day. Do you want to be looking at something that pisses you off 8+ hours a day? What, if you are doing that, what effect is that having on your psyche? Are you taking psychic damage looking at an interface that you hate? The answer is yes. So I went and changed all of it. So, and it propagates to Firefox too. So that's why all my Firefox windows and stuff, it's got the same like theming. It's just using the Windows theming. So it's I've got no actual theme on the Firefox itself. Everything on the computer has that theme. But yeah. But I don't know, like, the old Windows team, they knew this was important. They used to just let you change it without having to hack the registry or anything, but they don't let you do that now, so you have to brute force your way through it. But you know, it's my computer. I'm gonna do what I want. If I want the borders to be brown, then they're gonna be brown. Okay, it's my computer. Okay, it's not Microsoft's. So, you know. Gosv, it says, honestly, same. I hacked mine into Windows 7 since, since Windows 10, 11 look absolutely abhorrent. They do. I mean, yeah, Windows 7 was like the last good one. But after that, yeah, I don't know, man. Something weird happened. News headline. Windows is lobotomizing its users with UI design. Except it is, though, okay? I know this sounds crazy. I'm gonna go... I have a lot I want to say about it, but I'm going to restrict myself here and just say what I need to. Look, the small things, they matter, okay? And whoever is designing Windows, you look at it, you just look, and you'll see what person with two brain cells to rub together decides, yes, we will have two settings menus with completely different theming and different aesthetics that do the same thing, that organize things completely differently, that also interfere with each other half the time. I don't think anyone is doing that on purpose. I don't think anyone set out as like, when I grow up, I'm gonna keep the control panel in Windows and then make my own settings app on top of it that still needs the control panel, but like pseudo replaces it, but not entirely. And I'm also going to make the interface ugly. That's what I'm going to do when I grow up. Like, I don't think anyone's thinking that, but it's happening. So, like, why? And it could be, you got to ask the question, like, who's designing new Windows? My guess is it's all people in San Francisco, California, you know, the West Coast. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it's just TikTok or whatever, because a lot of these guys, you know, they have like the day in the life at a tech company lifestyle where they're all just having iced coffee all day and reading emails. And I don't think they have any skills, a lot of them, in terms of like technical ability, because a lot of them don't have to, because they just inherit. A lot of them, the people that are working there now, and I don't live in California, so this is just speculation. I don't want to live there, but my guess would be if it's just an adult daycare, which is basically what it is now, what incentive is there to be good at anything if you're just going to be fed cookies and coffee all day and send emails all morning? You know, what incentive is there to be greater, to do something awesome? And especially if you're working at a company where you've inherited all the stuff from the past already. So you've already inherited Windows, you've inherited the old Windows theming. You're not making it yourself, like the old guys. You're inheriting it, and you didn't earn it. You're inheriting it. So you're not really going to respect it. And that's what it feels like is going on. You know, you look at, like this menu, this is the original, like, the old designers made this. But you go to like this settings menu, and it's just ugly as hell. I can't even look at it. It's so bad. But the, like, it's not designed by the same people. It's designed by people who inherited, like, Microsoft was already popular. The people that made that didn't make Microsoft a big name. They're inheriting it from the people who did. And I don't think those are remotely the same class of people, if that makes sense. So and I don't know, for whatever reason, because they're all in the Valley, they're all in like California, San Francisco and all that. That's where a lot of them are based now. And you look at stuff getting made there, and it's, the lifestyle is, you know, you live in a little apartment, you scroll TikTok, you post your Instagram reel of your day in the life. Like, you're not living seriously. You're kind of just, you know, I think it's, I don't know, there's just something about it that seems all wrong. It seems like the priorities are all wrong. Like the fact that so many of them are on TikTok or Instagram and care about it at all to like film their day in the life or whatever. I don't know, there's just something about it that feels like the old people wouldn't be like, and I don't mean old people as in because of their age. I mean the great people that made this company possible, that made Windows originally, were probably not doing that, any of that stuff. They probably weren't, they probably didn't have all of these amenities like, a free food at work or something. I don't think that was, and maybe it was, I don't know, but I don't think that would have been a thing. But it just seems like, I don't know, the culture, something about Californian culture is like ruining everything. I know that sounds extreme, but look at it. Look at all the software getting made there. Look at Adobe, look at Photoshop, look at Windows. Where are they all getting made? California. And what is happening to all of them? They're all like decaying and getting worse and more bloated and like uglier. And what are people in California doing? Freaking sipping iced latte and whatever. I don't know, whatever they're doing. But whatever it is, I don't think it's not what people were doing, the serious people were doing in those areas previously, 30 years ago. I don't know. But again, I don't live there. Anyone that, I don't know, according to my analytics, you guys all live there, so you guys can tell me if I'm that far off the mark here. Probably Ree says they're bug people. Hold on, I gotta look this up. I've heard this before. I've heard this phrase. Bug people. Oh man, maybe you're right. Soulless, spiritually hollow, consumer-oriented people obsessed with appearance. Yo, this is actually... Maybe you're onto something. Maybe it is bug people. So... I don't know. Because I don't know, man. It just... You look at what they used to accomplish and what they accomplish now, and it's like... I feel like from what I see and hear, 80% of the workload that gets done in California is sending email. I don't know. Is that too far off? That like, there's so many people you hear about whose job it is. It's like, what's your job? Oh, I'm a product manager. What does that really mean? Oh, I sent 5 emails this morning in a meeting or whatever. Like, they aren't there doing anything really. It's just daycare. So it's like, and I get these emails too. Every week, there's always some person like, oh, we just checked out your channel. We really appreciate what your team is doing with your content. And it's some, some foreign name and then like product manager at brand you've never heard of. And we can help 10x your channel. And it's like, do you run a channel? No. Okay, then I don't think you know anything. I'm sorry. But it's, but they all come from California every single time. It's always California or New York every time. And I don't know I don't know what's going on, if there's some grand conspiracy or something, but it's just weird that it's every single time it's always from the East or the West Coast. It's not from anywhere else. And it's just, I don't know, man, it's just weird. And it's all some startup. It's the kind of startup culture or whatever. I don't know. I think back when startups weren't cool, when it was actually kind of more risky, I think that's when things were a lot better. When Microsoft and Apple began in the 70s or something. But because startups are like cool, I think that's changed the tier, the pedigree of people that are now being employed there that make these ugly interfaces that the rest of us have to put up with. And I don't know. I don't know what else to say, really. It's just, I just don't like it. Okay, I'm not happy about it. I want to go back, because it was objectively better. Okay, anyway, that's my rant on the rise and fall of Windows and the user interface. But I don't know, man. Like, am I the only one that notices this stuff? Because it's been in the back of my head for years, and I don't know, people who I talk to about it say, oh, it's not a big deal, you're making too much of a big deal out of it. And it's like, am I though? Because I don't want to be sitting at my computer and getting more and more pissed off every 10 years because the interface gets worse. One of you even today, before I went live, said on the Discord that you upgraded to Windows 11 and now your life is 50 times harder. So I don't think that's, I don't think that's not a big deal. I think if you're doing your day-to-day tasks becomes harder because of what some product manager decided, that is a big deal. That is a huge deal. and maybe we should take it seriously. So, I don't know. But I don't know, who cares? You know, who would believe you? Who would care? You know, it's not profitable or whatever. Cosmic says design is duplicitous nowadays, malevolent under the guise of mellow. Maybe that is the case. Because yeah, a lot of it lacks character. It lacks personality too. And it looks kind of boring. It lacks edge or soul. It's all kind of safe. So I don't know. It's maybe that it does have an effect on the soul. Probably says there's a lot of job bloat. Is that actually... Oh man, that's... I'm gonna borrow that term. Job bloat. That is so true. Cybershell says, I physically traveled to California. The amount of two-faced people I've met there, I couldn't wait to leave. Man, that's sad. I'm so sorry, any Californians that are watching right now. Because, again, according to my YouTube dashboard, like 80% of my audience are all in California. So I'm sorry. I hope that... I don't know, maybe if you're in California watching this, you can be the resistance. I don't know. I'm imploring you, please. Please be the different ones. Okay, don't be like the majority. Anyway. What do I have to do next? I think, well, how are we doing for time? Okay, I got about 10 minutes left before I gotta get going. But just with colors, I didn't get as far as I was hoping with this, but we got somewhere. And it's kind of incredible how you can see just with colors that the entire feeling changes. And I didn't even really change any of the layout or the whatever, because what I do want to do is I want to kind of theme this a bit cooler so that each of these has its own little box panel and that it has like some... The only thing that's missing, it's just a bit of decoration, a bit of borders around things. Just a little decorative borders is what's missing, I think. Because I think it was a good exercise for me just now to strip this down and make it simpler. Just look at the colors and the feeling of the colors, and then maybe, I don't know, maybe by next week I'll have added a bit more flavor back to it again. Because yeah, it's, I don't know, there is a certain joy in doing more with less. And that's the other thing that annoys me about these modern interfaces, is that they add more and they functionally do less as well, which is, I hate it so much. But you go to Windows 95, like the start menu. Okay, this thing used to be perfect. This is I've kind of reduced mine a lot. The default start menu has all these ads on the side, but I've gotten rid of my old ones. But you look at the Windows start menu, everything's like oversized. The scrolling has this smoothing on it that I don't like. And it's just not, I mean, mine's themed as well, a bit different. But then you look at the old one and it's just so much better. You can actually go and browse programs and stuff. You can access your entire computer from this menu. It's so cool. But you can't do, on the new start menu, you can't do that. And it's just, you know, what happened? Like, and it's more responsive too, right? So, and it's like simpler. And you can actually see the clear boundaries between things. Whereas, that's another thing as well that they've kind of gotten rid of, is that the boundaries, there's no boundaries anymore. That's another difference. If you go and look at just Google Images. I guess we'll close off the stream by just making some observations of that design here. But you notice how like old Windows, we'll do actually Windows 11, because I haven't used Windows 11 and it's probably gotten a lot worse. But you go Windows 2000 and we'll look at Windows, we'll compare them. But you notice how old Windows has borders, clear borders. The header bar, the buttons, every button has a clear border around it. Every element has clear separation. Clear borders, clear separation. The taskbar apps have clear bezels around them. The time even has a border around it. And it's beautiful, and it's awesome, and it's austere. It's simple. But it looks sophisticated. But then you look at whatever this atrocity is here, and the borders are gone. This I hate as well when they do this thing with the outlines. These outlines are like gray, not black or whatever, and I've never liked them. I don't know why. Maybe some of you that have better foundations than me can point out why. But this thing they do here with the borders, I hate it so much. I don't know why, but I just don't like it. this like white and then gray and then white. You know what it is? Because it's when you zoom out, it's super hard to see where the thing is. But you look at here, or like these ones, it's surrounded by, not only does it have a clear line, but the actual color's different, so that the surrounding element is gray and the bit that you input is white. So that when you zoom out, you can instantly tell. It's like, oh yeah, that's the bit that I input in. But you go here, and you, again, if it doesn't look good at low fidelity, it doesn't look good, period. And you look at this, from a distance, I can't tell which thing is an input field and which thing isn't, because it's all white. And the only thing separating it is like a tiny little like obligatory gray border. And I say obligatory because you know that if they could, they'd get rid of it, but they can't because they need something. Like this is one of, they actually do need something there, and it's like, okay, well, we'll just add a little gray one because I don't like it. But and then when they got rid of the borders on the close and minimize buttons, that was when I knew it's like, this is not going to end. This is going downhill. But you look at this classic interface, even the header bars, the menu bars, each have borders. The columns have borders between them, and I don't know what is it. That's the thing. I guess that is the question. Is what is it about having solid borders between elements, clear separation between elements, that makes me less pissed off by this? Because that's the key ingredient to a lot of it. And I don't know what it is. I don't know why, but there's probably a quality to something with clear versus ambiguous borders that, I don't know, says something that will appeal to some and not to others, or whatever, or that makes it more beautiful or more ugly. I don't know what it... I don't know. There's probably heaps you could delve into that, but I don't know. What do you guys think of that idea? Because there is a lot... The separation between everything is a lot clearer, isn't it? I feel like you would be into Linux and writing your own UI. I would if I had the time. Unfortunately, I don't. I just don't know how to, like, it's too complicated. I don't know how to use Linux. I'm not that good. Again, I'm not a god, okay? I don't know how to do everything. But my dream is one day, in 20 years from now, maybe I will know how to use, I'll be a Linux master, but unfortunately, a lot of my software does rely on Windows. Cosmic says it's designed to obfuscate because corporations use the new OS. But corporations were using the old OS too. That's something else. And Coesta says not to mention the lower Yes, the lower contrast too annoys me a lot. Because the contrast has a use. It has a purpose. I'm using it here to do something. I'm using it so that you look at the main article here, and then you kind of look here, and then maybe, I don't know, maybe I've got it the wrong way around actually. Maybe the background... I'm just trying to think if I've used contrast properly. Maybe I could benefit from the colors being swapped between the background here and the sidebar. Maybe that should be lighter and that should be darker. I don't know. I'll have to think about that. But at least there's separation and there's a hierarchy. And I don't know if I'm using this word right. Maybe this is an actual concept in real graphic design, but I feel like when you have contrast, you have hierarchy. In the sense that, and we'll use my picture here as an example. I'll just go back to the, hold on, I don't want to save my changes. We'll go back to the pictures I was using. So here, or in the other one I had, and because when you look at it in black and white, that's where it becomes more noticeable. And you'll notice in black and white, and if you zoom out, the fact that things are darker and lighter, that's the only thing you've got now, right? You don't have the color anymore. The only thing that is guiding your eye is contrast. And it creates a hierarchy where you're looking at one thing first, and then the next, and then the next thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing. And there's like an order in which you look at things. Now, I probably don't have it perfect here, but I at least have it so that you look... Sort of Gabby's taking up a bit of focus, and then the text, and then these images. And then with this one, if I get rid of the text, and if I add a... Just to look at only the black and white, you'll see that here it kind of creates... Like you're looking at kind of Gabby, and then the stripes, and then the black borders. So it's like it gets lighter and then to darker. So the thing that's lighter draws your eye the most, and then the darker. And then there's like how much contrast there is between the thing behind it and the thing in front of it. There's probably a bit more to it that I don't know, that, I don't know, probably makes this... I don't know, maybe I should look more into it, actually, because I'm just going off intuition alone. But I guess my knowledge is probably, like, okay, and in terms of, it's better than if you don't think about it at all, but there's probably maybe even more to it that I don't get. But then you look at whatever we were doing, like, this is good contrast as well. You can kind of see that there's like a hierarchy where you look at the text box, which is like the highest contrast thing, where you've got the white on gray, and then you look at this image, and then the thing that is least important, that's just there to frame everything, is this yellow and black, and that kind of has a bit less contrast because the yellow as a value is a bit darker than the white. At least that's what I don't know, it looks like that to me. But if we go and look at it in black and white, maybe we can discover the secret. Like, we look at it. Yeah, you guys can see how, like, I don't know, the thing that stands out the most is the text box to me, which is what should stand out. And then it's like this text here, I don't know, maybe it is higher contrast actually, but because it's smaller and near the edges of the screen, maybe it kind of negates it, I don't know. But there is like a clear, you could number the elements in order of importance. That's the main point. There's importance. But if you make everything like Windows 11, where everything's white with gray, like there's no, the hierarchy's gone, it's flattened, it's over, it's done, it's finished. You know what I mean? Like, oh, where's the window? There it is. I don't even have it open anymore. I had to close it, it was so ugly. But, and this applies to dark mode as well, because that's another thing I've also seen is, oh, you got dark mode, which I've stopped using recently, because I realized that I actually don't like dark mode. But even here, like, it's a little better, because they make some of the panels lighter than others, but it's still, like, kind of flat. The hierarchy's flat. And especially light mode, where everything's just white. I don't know, it's just... I mean, you guys see it. I don't have to over-explain it. But you see how when you have hierarchy and bigger differences between color and things, it creates more character, it creates more personality, you know? So, anyway, yeah, I think you guys get the point. Alex says, oh, here we go. Gross V3D says, Gauss, sorry, I'm mispronouncing that. The new UI is very easy to become confused with what isn't clickable. Yeah, precisely. Cosmic posits that corporations got greedy and advocated for sleeker and more palatable design. How businesses operate will fundamentally oppose artistic vision, and they will not stop until their vision is one that gets seen. I think that might be the tip of the iceberg. I just have a feeling that there's more to it than greed, because it seems too simple. Like, I don't think it's always... I don't know, I'm a bit on the fence of the idea of corporate greed. I think that's definitely happens sometimes, but I think there is something in addition. That is, because I think greed isn't motivation enough to make it that ugly, if you know what I mean. And you could make the argument that even back in Windows 95, they were greedy for charging money for Windows, which they don't do anymore, I don't think. Because Windows 11 is free. My computer keeps begging me to update all the time, and I tell it no. But back in Windows 95, you used to have to pay for Windows, right? So you could argue that, just to kind of play devil's advocate here, and it's like, you know, you could argue that, oh, well, you had to pay money for Windows. That's greed. And it's like, but it was, I'd say it was worth the price. It was pretty good. But the pursuit of capital, because you need money, right? I think there's more to it than just that. It's the way they're going about it, and there's some spiritual side to it that I don't think is being talked about or articulated. Like back when you used to have to pay for it, right? Like someone 30 years ago might have looked at this and said, oh man, they're so greedy or whatever for charging money for an operating system. But honestly, man, knowing the alternative, I'd rather go back to this, honestly. But I think even then, it was still a company. It still had to make money, but it was doing it the right way, you could say. Like, something about the way they were acquiring capital or being greedy back then was better. Because the results were better, the software was more stable, it was more useful. And yes, it was in a corporation, and it was capitalist or whatever. And I know, I don't really have too strong feelings on the whole way it is, but I know there's probably going to be a lot of people that think capitalism is the root cause of everything. But I think it's the attitude of capitalism being misused or something along those lines. That's the thing I've been thinking, is that because, you know, capital is you need, but speaking of which, sign up to my Patreon because I also need capital, and I have a big video I need to work on as well, which costs time and money. So appreciate any support you could send my way so that I could make my vision a reality and try to add some artistic flair to the world. But the guys back then, they were doing the same. You know, they were actually getting paid to design all this stuff, and it was great. But there's something that's changed, not with the fact that corporations want to make money, because that's always been the case, but the results were better back then for some reason. And there's something that's changed about the attitude of it. Maybe it's greed, but I think there's some other thing, and I don't know what it is, but there's got to be some other thing that's gone on that's made it so that whatever the logical conclusion has led away from the beautiful and the good. And I don't know. There's something else there. I can't put it into words. I don't know how to say it. Maybe you guys have thought about this as well. Maybe you can recognize it. But it's like there's more than just capital and greed. It's like a spirit. It's like a spiritual thing, which is unquantifiable, and you can't like show it on a graph. But there's some other dimension where it's like the care factor or the vision. I don't know what it is, but I don't know. I'm getting hungry, so my ability to think has diminished. But it's something about the spirit. Maybe it's the dismissal of it, because maybe that's actually the problem. Because I'm finding that I use the word spirit with hesitancy a lot, and I've always why is that? You know, why do people not want to go there with things? Because I don't know about the California types. Maybe they don't talk about this sort of area, but I feel like there is a spiritual side to making software, you know, or anything. And I would guess a lot of the California culture or whatever's going on there, my guess would be that topic, that area is not brought up. I feel like the last thing they're doing is talking about the spirit of the new whatever, or spirituality in general. I think my guess would be is that they don't even think about it or talk about it. And I think that might be contributing to this, what's going on. But there is something going on for sure. I think we can all agree. But I don't know. I don't know. I just get, every time someone brings it up, I just get super into it because it disturbs me a lot. And I feel like there's a duty you have to do to fight against it. So I don't know. I'm doing my little bit here. I'm doing the best I can. I don't have $1 million like Microsoft to invest in R&D and do I mean, you'd think they do a better job with all that, but you know, I'm doing the best I can. So it starts with the small things though, the foundations. I think that's kind of the missing thing, because I've noticed that I think if you were to go look at the new Windows, I don't think foundationally it would hold up. I can't find the tab I had open with the picture, but you guys know what I mean. I think if you were to go read an old graphic design book and look at new Windows, it just wouldn't hold up. You know, and maybe, I don't know, there's some failure for that knowledge and wisdom to propagate to the next generation. So, and I'm curious why that's happening. It disturbs me. I can see it happening. It disturbs me. I don't know why it's happening though. That's the thing that that keeps me up at night. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Coaster says, it's just that the UI styles are more popular nowadays, happen to be less efficient for the tasks they're designed for. Because tech artists aren't one of the things deciding how UI looks anymore. Well, that's interesting. I'll have to look into that more. Why is that, though? Maybe it should be the tech artists being in charge. I don't know. Why did they ever change? That's the thing I want to know. It's like, why did that ever change? Because at one point it was just perfect, down to the last detail, right? But then something changed. Farplane says, right now with people's attention span, design has just become more simplified. Well, the thing is, I think old design was still simple and better. So I don't know if that's the only thing. Because Windows now looks more complicated. Like, there's all the glass effects, transparency, but not in like the cool Windows 7 way, in sort of this really lame way. And it's Windows 95's interface is actually, it looks more sophisticated, but it's a lot more simple. So, and it probably takes less effort. So I don't think it's an attention span thing, because as I've just proved in this stream, it actually is possible to make something that's like not bad with very little. But Windows 11 is doing a lot more than this. It's got more, but it's not, I don't know. It's got more elements and more whatever to it. It's not, Windows 95's had less things going on. It had less variety, less or whatever, I don't know. You know, like it was less complicated. So I would say if you had an attention span problem, it would actually be easier to just design like this. Because like this is easy. Look at this. It's just stripes and a gradient and things and whatever. And that's it. Windows 95's interface was kind of comparatively as simple as this background when you think about what the steps needed to render it. Like you just, like this is only like what? 1, 2, 3, 4. Like in terms of the simplicity of old Windows, it was that simple. So I don't know if it's like everyone can't focus, because it's actually harder to focus and create something more complicated, like what they've been doing. So I don't know. I think that there's got to be something else. Cosmic says Windows didn't have the luxury of being a multi-trillion-dollar company they are now. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, the whole corporate world is still a bit foreign to me. I've like deliberately tried to avoid thinking about what the big companies are doing. So I don't know. Maybe that's got something to do with it. You are giving the definition of over-designing? Maybe that is what it is. Maybe that's the right word for it. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. It just annoys me a bit. Anyway, how are we doing for time? I should probably get going soon. But thanks for joining me for another weekly update. I will, there's one more, do I have one more thing I can show before I leave? Actually, screw it. I'll show you. 1 second. I'll just quickly show you a little devlog update, because, I know, this is such a, the episode is so long. Oh my god. It's been in the works for a long time, but it's coming together. I'm going to be working a lot more on it next week, because this week I got a little distracted with the design. I'm not going to lie. I got a little carried away. I spent a whole morning just reading, and I was like, oh, I was meant to be editing, and I just read this whole, I was like reading a bunch of stuff about all the stuff I've just been talking about. So I'm going to be a bit more on task next week with the video, but just trying to find the file for it. Devlog 42. Can you believe, or 43? We're on the 43rd devlog. Isn't that crazy? But yeah, so I've been working on the voiceover. Has now like about half of it is like finalized now for real. The wording is a lot better on how to describe describing some of the technicals of Gabby's model and stuff like that. Weirdly enough, making Gabby's model, I feel like the 3D modeling has gone through the same thing as UI design of everything we were just talking. And yeah, this is what I mean with freaking Adobe. Like when you load it up, it gives you all these ugly, like, why is there stock pictures on the side for no reason? Like, what is all this? Like, get this out. No, I just want, because all Adobe software does this now. It's so bad. Anyway. So I've been going through and just tightening up the edits on a lot of this stuff. And there's like, a lot of it is sort of like motion graphics, animating B-roll on top of the voiceover and intercutting it with narration. It's just because there's a lot. It's a very dense episode, so it's been... I'm just trying to find the cool bits here to show you guys. Okay, that's so I've been going through and getting the time lapses better organized and put in. There was a whole chapter I just finished writing. I think I showed you guys this part before, but the part I'm now getting a bit stuck on, because I had to rewrite the second half and rearrange the chapters around a bit, because there's bits where I start describing the texturing. You can see this part I haven't gotten to yet. And then there's bits about there's texturing, and then there's this whole chapter about redesign, which I've had to rearrange a little bit. So I just got to find the document real quick. So yeah, I just thought I'd show you guys how this is coming along. So yeah, at the moment, yeah, you can see that around here, I think last time I showed you guys this, the whole second half of this document was like just too much information. And it was like you looked at it and you went, I ain't reading all that. So I've gone ahead and like chunked it up a lot more and made it better. And I think the previous time I'd shown this off, the first half of it, I had like rewritten to be better. But yeah, now it's just the second half. And the thing I've been stuck on with this, I've got all the normal editing bit sort of written and voiceovered, and I think I'm really proud of how I've described it. But then it comes to these other bits about texturing. And I've made a video on this before, but I didn't really do it justice, and it left a lot of people confused on how it actually works. So I've been trying to like actually describe better the vectorized texturing and all that stuff. And as I was going to say, what I've noticed that's also interesting, and maybe I'll have this for like the end of the episode or whatever, because I still need to come up with an ending. And that's that 3D modeling has kind of gone through a similar thing as the decline of UI. Because one thing that made Gabby's model so difficult is having to unlearn modeling and relearn it again. And I might sound crazy. It's like, oh, Raymond, you used to teach modeling, didn't you? You used to be an expert. Why would you need to relearn it? And that's because when I learned it the first time, I was at this sort of art school, kind of like trade school thing. And they had an 3D art, games art program. And that's where I first kind of was supposed to be taught the basics, but I wasn't really taught anything. And I was kind of just taught 3ds Max. Oh no. Was it 3ds? Yes, it's 3ds Max. We were taught like bits of software, but in terms of technique, we were like not really taught much at all in terms of how to actually go about it. So I had to figure it out on my own a lot. And when I did Gabby's first model, I kind of just learnt the hard way of what topology and stuff, what would be good and how to sculpt and all this stuff. And it was still pretty bad at the end. And it wasn't until the second model, which is this one here, where I had to kind of learn, because I don't know, maybe this happens in a lot of places, because I don't think it's just me that doesn't learn this. I think if you go to an art school now, maybe they have the same problem with this failure to transfer, to propagate knowledge to the next generation. Because things that is done in this model, like the way the topology is done around the joints and everything and the rules and whatever, like there's a lot of principles that went into building this that you kind of have to know in advance before you even model it. And part of the difficulty has been describing and making a video on it that is a linear video, but also describe it and be able to go back and forth between the topics during the video. That's been one of the difficult things. Because when I was modeling it, that's what I was doing. I didn't do just step 1, the sketch, step 2, the base model, step 3, the rig. It didn't go like that at all. It was like, okay, we're going to do a bit of modeling, and then we're going to do a bit of rigging, and then we're going to do a bit of modeling, now we're going to do a bit of rigging, now we're going to do a bit of texturing, now we're going to adjust the modeling a bit, we're going to go back and readjust the texture. It was like a back and forth between all the elements, which you can't do unless you know all of it, like the back of your hand. And that was one of the difficult things. But it isn't just knowing it, it's like knowing it to the right attitude to go about it, the right principles. So I've been trying to do my best to describe that, because so many videos I see on 3D modeling don't talk about this. A lot of it is just, here's how to model a 3D character step 1, step 2, step 3. And they don't really go into the thought and the technique as much. It's kind of just a copy what I do type deal, which I have learned is not that is not an education, and it's not really good enough to be an exceptional modeler that knows what they're doing. And that's kind of that was most of my knowledge for a long time, has just been following and imitating and kind of following someone else along. But the thing that was interesting about following the Guilty Gear workflow is that there wasn't a tutorial series, step 1, step 2, on how to do it. I don't think you could make one on how to do it, because it's the process and the way you think is just not compatible with steps. It's not a recipe. It's not like that at all. And that's been one of the more difficult things to get across and describe in the video, because I think at least my past self needed to hear that. And I don't know how many people are being told that. Maybe people are, and that maybe I'm catastrophizing it, but I know for me and my past self and the people in my community, at least in my area, in my city, a lot of them don't know this, and they never will. And I don't know, man. I feel like I have to communicate what I've learned, because the people, and what annoys me the most is the people that do teach, that get paid to teach this stuff. Like I was at one point. You know, I used to be a 3D model instructor, and I really, you know, nobody knew what they were doing. And I was taught also by people that didn't know either. And it was just the attitude. It wasn't the fact that we were taught a wrong thing necessarily. It's just the attitude was all wrong. You know, it was treated as if it was like a recipe, like a cookbook recipe where you just follow the steps, and it's just not it. So anyway, it's been quite a process to try and get that across. So I've tried to do my best to explain and go through my journey of how I was learning all of these things, and not just the technique and the technicals, but how to think this way. So that when you guys watch this episode, you go through the adventure with me. But it isn't that you will, because I know maybe some of you might want to attempt this for yourself and make your own character like this. And what I will say is, if you're hoping that my video is going to be a tutorial, it won't. It'll be better, though. It'll be what you actually need, which is not a tutorial. It's more of a, I don't know. I don't even know what you would call it, but it's a story. It's my story of how I did it. And to be able to recreate this, I've learned, and this is what I did with Motomata's source material for this stuff. It's like the same process where he didn't have a tutorial on this. He didn't have a step-by-step guide. He just sort of shared some techniques he made and how he thought about it. And then for the right person, that will be enough for them to then go forth and figure it out. And what I want my devlog to be is like a video version story of kind of like what Motomata provided to the world, you know, because he had those presentations and the game itself he had to show for it, and that was sort of his offering. And my offering is going to be like basically kind of what his presentation did, but in video form from the perspective of someone that isn't a AAA artist. That's sort of what I want to show. And I don't know, I feel like the story is like a lot more important than the having it laid out as a recipe. I don't know, because I think the most valuable learning I've ever had in my life is through stories, not through tutorials. So, and when you look at my old videos on Gabby's first model, you'll notice that it's a bit more like a tutorial. But the model isn't really even that good, right? Like, it's not amazing. And it's, maybe I had thought about it all wrong, you know? Makes you think. So, yeah. So it's a bit hard to quantify in the progress report, but that's kind of the main struggle now, has been to tighten this up, to deliver on that goal the best way possible, to get the story across. So to balance the experience of doing it and the technicals without it being boring, because ultimately with YouTube, if any part of the video is boring, then that's lost ad revenue and it's over. Your channel doesn't get promoted anymore. So you got to be really strict about it, and it's not always fun. I don't enjoy doing that a lot, but it's a challenge, and I'll rise to meet it. But yeah, so it's been, you know, a lot of the second half, because that's where things get a bit more complicated with adding detail, the little fine-tuning bits, getting it perfect. Like, that's kind of where it gets a bit complicated. So I've been trying my best to kind of straighten it out, make it super easy to comprehend and to follow. And then to, like, find the B-roll and to arrange it. So I just thought I'd do a quick little progress report on how that's been going before I leave. But yeah, conveying the theory, I suppose to me it's a bit of the theory, yes, but I think the attitude is more important than the theory or whatever, because the attitude makes the theory, the attitude makes the technique, not the other way around. And the way I was taught, I mean, I wasn't taught any of this. I had to figure this out when I was making Gabby, but I wish I had been taught it. But nobody did. I don't know if it was just lack of knowledge or whatever it was. But when I was being taught how to do 3D and stuff, not once was I ever taught about that you can't just copy a model. You can't just follow a recipe. It's the difference between... I mean, you can do it, but you're not going to get good results. And you won't know why. That's the thing that made me really bothered, is that the old results I used to get were kind of average looking and bad looking and unprofessional, but I didn't know why. And I was like, why isn't this good? I don't understand. And it wasn't until I did this model where I started to figure it out a little. I don't know if I have it fully figured out still, but I learnt a lot about that. And it's all non-technical. It's spiritual, like we were saying before. A lot of it is spiritual. It's the way you think about the work. It's the way you live the work. It's the way you approach it. And it's completely... It applies to more than just modeling too, by the way. It applies to everything. But it's the X factor that kind of separates the good and the bad models, I think. But to put it simply, it's like the difference between being Victor and Walter White. I don't know if you guys who've seen Breaking Bad, you guys remember the scene where... I think it's after they killed Gale, and they bring in Jesse and Walt, and they've got them locked in the lab, and then Gus arrives, and he's like threatening them, you know, or whatever. And Walter's in the room saying, you can't kill us. You need us to run this business. Without us, you have nothing. All this equipment is useless without me and Jesse. And then you've got Victor in the background, who's like sort of smirking, and then he starts trying to do Walter's recipe. He's like, I've been watching him for weeks. I know every step to his cook. And then he like starts getting the aluminum and he starts pouring the ingredients. And then Walter's just sort of sitting back going like, he doesn't know what he's doing. This person doesn't know what the hell he's doing. How would you even know if you had a bad barrel of precursor? And he starts like grilling him in front of Gus. The thing is though, as funny as the scene is, Walt was right. At the end of the day, there's a reason why... There's a difference between the Heisenberg level, the 99% purity, and the Victor, who's just like... I think he even says there's that line he's got, where it's like, at the end of the day, it's called a cook, because every step comes down to following a recipe. And then, like, literally the next scene, he gets stabbed in the neck or something, doesn't he? So he doesn't last very long, Victor. And even if he had, he wouldn't have made... I don't think his product would have been very good. Because it isn't about just following a recipe. It's a lot more. And Walter White knew. That's why he was the guy. That's kind of what made him the 99%. So there's the Breaking Bad version of that idea. But basically, yeah, it's about trying to communicate that, not in a crime show, but in like, you know, in work, in everyday life, like doing modeling work or anything like that. So, yeah, so it's an attitude thing. So anyway. You'll when it's done, you'll see what I have to say about it. There'll be quite a bit there about it. And yeah, anyway. Oh, I'm so hungry. I better get back to it. But thanks for joining me for another check-in stream, a bit of progress. I hope you guys learned a little something about design or work ethic or whatever it is. If you have any more suggestions on this sort of design, or if there's anything you feel it's lacking, I'll drop a comment on the stream. If you're watching the VOD, I'll try to make sure to check the comments later. And I guess we'll see where we go by next week. I'm hoping that the B-roll editing of the devlog is a lot further along, so I'm going to be trying to work a lot more on that and see if I can like implement some of this into the web page as well, and maybe I don't know. We'll see where we go. We'll see where we go. But I think I'm a lot happier with the design ethos of this now. I think we're sort of narrowing in on what is needed, what is not needed, and what is the aesthetic goal. And I feel like we're just about there. I'd say. So yeah, and of course open to feedback and critique. Of course, I always like to improve. But until next time, guys. Thanks for joining me for another chat, for more discussion on design. I'll see you guys for the next one.